bonitas, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a flawless fall affordable foundation routine, and we love a good routine on a budget, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you guys how I go from this to something a little bit more put together, more flawless on my oily rosacea medium to tan skin. So if you want to continue watching it, then please go ahead and do so, bonitas. Okay, bonitas, so we are ready to get started. My hair's back, I have my lip balm on, and we're gonna start this flawless foundation routine. And I want to talk about a few primers that I really do enjoy from the drugstore that I constantly use. First up, this one, I don't have anything left in here, so we're not going to use this, but I want to share it because this is something that I love. This is the NYX Cosmetics Blur Screen 30 SPF primer. I love this primer because it does a beautiful job of blurring my complexion, not giving me a white cast, but also it has SPF. And even though we're moving to the fall, you still need your SPF. So I always recommend this. As you can see, this is very well loved because I literally don't have anything left in here. It's pretty much empty. So that's one of my favorites. But the two that I'm going to be wearing today are these two today. These are both on a budget, affordable. And what I like to do is I like to first start off with the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer. And this is going to give you a very beautiful, flawless, poreless finish. So what I like to do with this one by e.l.f. is I like to apply this on the center of the face. And the reason being is because this is going to minimize those pores. For me, a lot of my enlarged pores tend to be around my nose and also on the nose area. So I like to just go ahead and go in there and just apply it all over. And then a little bit on my chin just for like extra, but I really like to go in these areas. See, just gonna let that kind of sink into the skin, and then we're going to move on to the rest of the face. So for me, I love a good gripping primer, and where I like to really focus a gripping primer on is around the perimeters of the face, because that is where we really want everything to grip into place. For me, that's the areas where my foundation tends to fade the quickest. So you can either apply it directly on like so. If you want to put it all over, you can. I've done that before, love it. And I'm just going to go in like that and blend, blend, blend. This is just going to create a really good grippy, tacky feel so that when we apply our foundation, everything just locks into place. Another place where I do like to go in a little bit with it is around the nose, because foundation does tend to fade pretty quickly around my nose as well. But I really love the fact that this NYX Grip Primer is extremely hydrating. It's just a very hydrating consistency, and that I really do appreciate. And it just gives me a really good starting point for when we go in with foundation. If you guys have any recommendation on other primers that you really enjoy, leave them down below. Let's go ahead and help each other out, share some of our favorites, because I love when my bonitas help each other out and even help me out. Love that. Let me know what other primers you're really loving, because I would love to check out some other really good affordable primers. So for foundation, I want to talk about the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation. So this foundation came out a few months ago, and this gives me really beautiful medium buildable coverage. It's long lasting, and I like the fact that it's not a completely matte foundation. It's like a soft, just natural, really beautiful finish, not like an oily type of look or too dewy. This is just one of those like flawless complexions. So I'm gonna take a sponge to blend this out. This sponge is also affordable. It is from the MORPHE Ariel collection. Ariel? I said Ariel. Ariel. Makeup by Ariel, celebrity makeup artist. And I really like the sponge because it's so soft, and I feel like it's one of my favorite sponges. Like, even if you don't wet the sponge, it still has a really good soft texture to it, and it really pushes the foundation so beautifully into the complexion. And as you can see, the foundation is melting into the skin so beautifully. And it does have a long wearing effect, and you cannot beat that affordable price. I really give it to e.l.f. because they did a great job of having a really good shade selection, especially for the price that you're getting this foundation at. Like, you really cannot beat that. The formula of this is extremely lightweight and very easy to cover any imperfection that you may have. I have a lot of redness right now. My rosacea has been really flared up. Whenever I need a good base that's going to really cover anything, everything, I'm all for that. And this one is in the shade 32 medium neutral. I am a medium neutral undertone, medium tan. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and go in with our concealer. So for concealer, one of my favorites is always the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer at the drugstore. This concealer is just so great because it offers such great coverage on the under eyes. It's a creamy formula, so it's not too thick, it's not heavy. This is the hydrating one. And I feel like it is a very great alternative to the Tarte Shape Tape that everybody loves, except this one is just a lot more hydrating. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend this out, but before we go in and blend, I'm already prepping out the products. So I'm gonna be taking my e.l.f. Halo Glow Powder in medium. If you know me, if you watch my videos, you know that I've always talked about this powder in the past and how much I love it. If I had to pick one of my favorite loose powders at the drugstore, it's definitely this one. You guys know right now I'm just obsessed with the one size powders. They're just so good, but whenever I have to give a recommendation for an affordable powder, it's always going to be the e.l.f. Halo Glow Hydrating Powder. It's just so good. A lot of the products that I'm mentioning in this video are going to be e.l.f. products because one thing about e.l.f., they come correct with the formulas and the makeup launches, and we cannot take that away from them because they know what they are doing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to blend, blend, blend. And then I'm gonna take a puff and I'm gonna take the powder and I'm gonna be reminded how good this powder is. And it's gonna be like, girl, you left me for one size? Think again, because I'm just as good and much cheaper. So I'm just gonna go in and really blend that out. And I like this powder too because it's not heavy and thick. Some powders just feel very, very heavy, and this is one of my more lightweight powders. So I feel like with this powder, I really get that like locked into place without feeling heavy. And like I said, that's a big thing for me as I am doing this flawless, affordable fall foundation routine, because we want the complexion to be able to layer things on as we go, because we are going to be layering quite a few products and mixing creams and powders and all that stuff to really give us that flawless complexion that we need. And I'm gonna go in with another concealing product that I really like. This is by NYX. Can you see that? This one is in the shade Classic Tan. And I like this little guy because I can go into little areas where I may see a little bit more redness, or I kind of want to cover up certain things, and I can just add a little bit more. For me, it tends to be the nose area that sometimes I have to go back in and add just some stuff there, some coverage there. So I'm doing that right now, and I'm blending, blending, blending. Same thing up here. And I'm just leaving it like that. Then I'm gonna go in and start to do my contour. So one of my favorite products is the NYX Cosmetics Contour Sticks. These sticks are so good. I was using this a lot for a long time, and then I fell in love with the LYS, which is a high-end product at Sephora. That stuff is like one of my favorites, but whenever I'm looking for a good like contour stick moment at the drugstore, it's NYX Cosmetics with these sticks. They're just so good. Extremely pigmented, like very pigmented. And you guys know it's very rare that I will shift away from my FENTY Mocha stick, but this is a trick for me. So we have that. We're gonna leave that, and now we're gonna go in blush. So first for blush, I like to go in with creams, right? So even with our contour and bronzer, or like how we're bronzing up and contouring, we're going in with creams. Then we're gonna go ahead and take some of my favorite blush and bronzer powders and kind of set that stuff into place. So right now we're just going in with this. So for the fall, I do like to go in with a more like warmer blush, like a deeper blush. So I'm taking this one by e.l.f. and this one is in the shade Sauve Mauve. And I'm gonna start off by blending my blush, and I'm just taking this e.l.f. Putty brush that I really like to use. This isn't even for blush. This is actually for the putty primer, but I've always used it for the blush and I love it as a blush brush. So always keep in mind, like, just because a brush is meant to be used for something else doesn't mean you can't use it for other stuff. You can see it's a nice mauve tone. I love these mauve tones for the fall. In the summer, I like those pops color, but in the fall and winter, I like the mauve tones. I like the berry tones. Those type of tones are my favorite, and e.l.f. has a great selection of these type of products. And I also have to say, so does Milani. Milani has great cream blushes that I really love. So we have that. I feel like every drugstore brand has really great cream products, but I just have to say e.l.f. is like the dupe to like the Rare Beauty ones. So now I'm gonna begin, actually let me do this. Let me dust away the powder right here on the under eyes and also aquí, así. Then I'm gonna begin blending out the bronzer, well, contour that we did with the NYX cream sticks. And you can see they just blend so nicely, and I really like this color. This stick is in medium. Before I purchased the LYS stick, I was religiously using this one by NYX Cosmetics. It's just so good, and it's definitely what I would say is the most comparable to like a high-end one. I need to do like a full face of dupes. I think that needs to come soon because I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm seeing are very similar to like the high-end products that I like to use. This is a very creamy contour stick, so I always have to be just very, very careful with how much I use. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a step that for me personally, I feel like helps everything kind of melt in together. I'm gonna be taking the e.l.f. Power Grip Dewy Setting Spray, and you may be thinking, dewy and you have oily skin. Okay, so this is kind of like a middle step that's just gonna melt everything we already have in together, so it kind of can give it a more hydrated finish, because then we're gonna go in with powders, and I feel like this step helps me avoid a cakey finish if I just go in straight with the powders. So I also love this because it is a very, very, very fine mist, so it barely feels like it's like a harsh, like a lot of liquid onto your skin. It's very finely misted, which I really do appreciate. Now we're gonna move in with the powders. So first things first, we're gonna go in with a powder blush, and this is just gonna add a little bit more of some color to the cheeks. This one is the NYX Cosmetics Buttermelt blushes. I've mentioned these before. I love this butter melt collection that NYX Cosmetics came out with their bronzers and their blushes. The formulas are absolutely beautiful, like so beautiful, so pigmented. A little bit of this goes a very long way. Blush tends to fade really quickly, so if I can get it as pigmented as I can from the get-go, and then it slowly diffuses out into a more subtle pop of color by the end of the day, we love that. So that's why I like to go in after I go in with my creams to set with a powder blush and continue to keep that intensity in the blush. Now we're gonna go in with a Butter Melt bronzer, and this is in Butter Biscuit, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend the powder bronzer with the cream bronzer. Same thing down here. And I feel like just going in with the mist prior to adding these products just really helps kind of melt everything and marry everything together really, really nicely. Next step that we're gonna do once we have applied that is we are going to begin to bake our face and really lock into place those little areas that I tend to get dewy. So we're gonna go back in with our e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. I am going to go ahead and take the powder like that. And I'm gonna begin applying it in areas where I tend to get dewy. So for me, it tends to be around the smile lines, like so. And this is where having a foundation that is lightweight and just gives a natural finish comes into play. Because if you go in with a very matte foundation and start to do steps like this, a lot of times foundations can get cakey because of that. So when you have a very light mixture of products and your layering products are very easy to layer, things are just so much easier to blend out and to look more seamless. I am also going to take it right here, just same thing on this side. I'm gonna let this kind of sit for a few minutes. While I let this sit for a few minutes, I'm gonna quickly do a little eye makeup off camera. This is a foundation routine, so we're gonna leave it at that. We're not gonna go ahead and do eye makeup on camera. We're gonna let this kind of cook and do its thing, and then I'll be right back to finish up the rest of the steps before we are done this fall flawless affordable makeup routine. Okay, bonitas, ya regresé. I'm back and I finished up the eyes. I did a quick little eye look. I used my go-to palette, the Milani palette. I wanted to create something fall-y, you know, and add a little bit of shimmer on the eye since everything else is pretty matte. So we did that. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to dust away that powder because it did its thing. We gave it about like 5-10 minutes to just really, you know, get in there and absorb any of that oil that was just kind of laying around. Let's see. And you can see it just all really comes together very nicely. Now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to spray setting spray. I like to go in with setting spray first once I have everything on. Then to finish everything up completely, I go in and lock everything into place with powder. So I'm gonna go with pressed powder, I should say. So I go in with loose powder, then lock everything into place, and then go in with pressed powder because I feel like the pressed powder just adds another layer of, you know? So this is the L'Oreal Infallible 3-second setting mist. This setting mist, extremely comparable to the One Size one. This is very long wearing. It is such a great setting mist. If you're looking for something really, really good at the drugstore, really amazing setting mist, it's this one right here. So literally like hairspray, it like holds everything into place. So okay, it like glues everything into place. So I'm just gonna go in like that. So this is the Maybelline Super Stay up to 24 hours hydrating powder. No, hybrid powder. And this one is in the shade 310. Like I said, I just had to purchase another one because the other one was completely gone. I've used it up so much. As my final step, I go in with this powder and I just set the face. And look at like literally like porcelain doll skin right there. And what I like about this so much too is that it's like a powder foundation, so it matches my complexion without giving me like the white cast that some powders can give. And you could also use this on its own, like as your foundation. But for me, I really love how this looks as almost a like last step for pressed. Like I just feel like it does such a beautiful job. It keeps everything in place all day long. It looks stunning. And it lays very beautifully on top of the e.l.f. foundation because it's such a lightweight finish. You can see it literally gives the most beautiful finish to the foundation. Like this powder is just really one of my favorites. This was the powder that I would carry with me everywhere for touch-ups or anything like that. And I would recommend if you do get this powder and you use this as your last step to really kind of bring everything together, take this with you on the go, especially if you want your makeup to last, because even if you do need to do any little touch-ups, this is the one to go. It gives you that pigmentation. You go into the bathroom, you touch up your makeup with this, and you go back out and you're like, oh my gosh, she literally looks like she just glammed up. Like how I look right now is how I will look when I retouch with this. So it's one that I recommend. This is in the shade 310, and I feel like this shade is perfect for me, especially going into the fall and winter. I really do love this shade. Okay, bonitas, so this is the completed look. This is what I would recommend if you are looking for just that perfect flawless fall routine for your complexion, for the foundation, for the base. And even though we layered on a bunch of products, the skin does not feel heavy. Like my face literally feels like I have nothing on. Like, I will have all the products that I used on this face listed down below in my description box. You guys can check out these items, but I really love how everything came together, and I wanted to show you guys this routine because now that we're in fall, I feel like we're gonna have many events where we want to have that flawless base on a budget, but also something that feels really comfortable and just wears beautifully for the entire day. I wanted to share this con mis bonitas, so thank you again, bonitas. If you enjoyed watching this, please give it a big thumbs up. Lets me know to continue doing estos videos para ustedes. That's pretty much it. I hope that you guys have a fabulous day. Don't forget to stay safe, stay blessed, and stay beautiful, y nos vemos pronto. Adiós, bonitas.